All right. Hey, everybody. I am here with Ken Van Liew. Hi, Ken. How are you?
How are you, Jennifer?
I'm great. So, Ken is the founder and CEO of Global Real Estate Strategies. You're also an author of modern wealth building strategies. So, I'm excited about the book and I'm excited to talk to you today about affordable housing is like a huge deal right now. And I know that your company deals like a lot with it and you talk a little bit about it in your book. Tell us like what are some strategies that you think are possible in today's market to kind of like ease this crisis?
Yes, great question. And what we found is towns are reaping benefit and also the burden of the
Yeah,
affordable housing crisis, because you have a lot of mixed political opinions. The
right.
more affluent towns don't want the affordable housing, but they have the requirement. Other
Yeah,
towns that have tons of affordable housing don't have the space.
yeah.
So there's a little bit, I guess I would call it a finesse to the whole affordable housing process to
Hmm.
really understand what the challenges are for the towns. And if you could figure out how to help them solve their challenges, what we have found is that they give you golden opportunity.
Right.
And what do I mean by that? The opportunity is twofold. One, you get to serve and provide affordable housing. And a lot of times on these properties that, the towns make available for you to, fulfill their needs,
Hmm.
you can also develop other types of uses on that property, and that's where these developers really get the benefit of both helping out the town. They're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and
Right.
they get to make some money because affordable housing isn't the most profitable type of development, because you have to build at a
It's
very low
expensive
cost.
to build, right? And you're not like getting the money back because you have to have like a lower cost for entry. Is that, I mean,
That's exactly
lower
it. You're
taxes, lower everything.
exactly, like, you have to hit a threshold. So right away you're, in our affordable housing project, like, we actually look like at the siding where, normally if we would use a hardy plank
Hmm.
versus a really nice vinyl siding that looks like a hardy plank,
Right.
makes it more feasible because you have to, you're only going to get a certain amount of revenue from that. So you almost have to reverse engineer to make the revenue
Yes.
work,
Right.
and
Because
that's
there has
where.
got to be a balance between offering, like, there's different levels, like you're saying, like different levels of siding, right? So you have to be like, okay, we want to offer like a good product, but it also has to be, it has to make sense cost wise and it has to be like so we can get some money back because you're not doing it as like a donation project.
Exactly. A lot of times, these developers go in almost at a break even, where what brings them into the positive is the tax incentive. So
Hmm.
a lot of times you have the state, which is supporting the struggle of the town, and then they're contributing a little bit. So there's some grants that you can file for,
Yeah.
and then you have to, meet the certain, check all the boxes off, and the more boxes you check off, and then you have corporations that'll actually support those grants because then they get the tax write-off. So you have all these different parties involved. You have
It's a
city,
lot of moving
states,
parts. Yeah.
city, states, corporations, and
So does your company then, you guys consult on the projects, correct? And then you also do them?
yeah, we a lot of times, when we do the affordable housing component on our deals, we usually bring in someone who's actually more expertise on affordable housing. As
Okay.
far as building it really cheap, we're good
Yeah.
at building, and we're better at, building the more marketable. Like, we're building the market rate housing, and our affordable housing developer is building the affordable. But it's on our property, and we got
Okay.
the approvals, and that's kind of their business. Because what we found is, even though we have the finesse to create affordable housing projects, the affordable housing is a separate business, and you have to be in that business
Yeah.
to succeed, right? It's a
Yeah.
different model. It's hard to build, really inexpensive, low revenue, low overhead versus big time developer,
Right.
Wawa's, CVS's, multi-unit,
Exactly.
type
Do,
of thing.
I think like I've heard that some of the ways that they're kind of solving this crisis is looking at, well, can we make the land requirement like for a house, like maybe before it was like point 0.25 acres? Like, can we go down to like 0.15 and like create space? I've seen it where it's like, can we allow single family owners to redo their houses and maybe add floors to make it multifamily and then be able to like sell those like kind of like condos, you
Yes.
know? Like, what are some of the other, we've talked about also too, like, can we take some of the commercial space and reinvent it like as housing? But then you have like a whole other host of problems, right? But like, what are some of the other things that you've seen or that you're kind of thinking about?
Yeah. One of the things, and it's kind of what we're doing in Chester, is we call it inclusionary housing.
Okay.
So one of the strategies that the developers have been taking, and we've taken in some instances, is approaching developers so that they could contribute, say, 10 to 15% of their market rate towards the affordable. And I
Okay.
love your idea, because I never thought of, bringing an idea to a single family homeowner. We go, hey, we could renovate your home. It'll create some extra revenue for you and then solve the town's problem,
Maybe, maybe
which is,
not, but you have like, you have then a drain on the like the sewer and the, you know, all that stuff too when you have exponentially more people, right? So then like what happens there? Or like for the ones that are going from like commercial to residential, you have like somewhat of a tax, you could potentially have like a tax issue, right? Because the city's not getting the income. It's
yeah,
annoying.
you're hitting all. It sounds like you're a consultant on my Chester project, because I swear it's exactly that issue. Like right
Mhm.
now, they don't have the sewer capacity.
Right,
And the water's across a 206. I literally have to shoot a bullet underneath the highway.
right.
And
It's
I'm now in
crazy.
the process. I just drilled wells, and I'm starting this whole process of a sewage treatment plant on site. And the city just wants to tell me what I want to hear. Oh, yeah, we're going to have our sewer. I'm like, you let it get to this point.
Right.
Downtown, you have to go to a bathroom in a porta-sand. They won't
Oh
let you
my
open. There's
God.
no restaurants opening up. You're like,
Yeah.
it's
No, they're
silly.
not. Right.
And the only thing that's saving me, and the reason why I brought that up, is the affordable housing component. The city would literally go like, Ken Van who?
Yeah,
you
right.
know? And I'm like, I'm like, help me here. I'm helping you. You need to help me. And, just tell me the truth
Well, it's
about
a
the
lot of
sewer.
red tape. I mean, don't even get us started on like talking
Exactly.
about all of that. But the other thing I've heard of, and we've kind of talked about too, is I mean, the cost of materials, which you alluded to in the beginning, is like a huge thing, right? So, like, can you build houses? Well, I guess two things came to mind. Is there a possibility to create housing out of like some of the trash that doesn't decompose? Because we have a trash crisis too, right? So it's like, is there a way to do that? Is there a way to build houses that are more sustainable, like as a just a house, rather than having to like, and I don't know what that looks like. Like I am deaf, like I'm a realtor. That's it, right? But like, is there a way that they all have like if you live in a place and it's on a hill, like you can have wind energy or solar energy and like composting and like they're basically like off the grid
Mm.
houses in the city. I don't know. Have you guys ever looked at anything like that?
Yeah, we have, and it's funny because one of my clients is a group, and they're looking at all the sustainability projects,
So
living off the
interesting.
land. And then when we started to look at that model in New York City, you want to talk about moving parts, because it's multi-zoned and there's a health
Right.
department involved, and you're producing food. But yes, there's been a lot of analysis and about sustainability, and it's even gotten to the point, and you must have heard all about the environmentally conscious, and
Yes.
now it's actually getting into self-conscious architecture, and finding out, I found that this thought and discussion has been around for 40 years, where people are now saying that you are limited in your self-conscious growth due to the materials used in the present architectures. That's how
What do you
detailed.
mean? What does that mean?
Yeah. So what I'm learning, and I'm studying it myself, is that steels and concretes, these materials don't allow the person to literally reach its highest level of self-consciousness.
What
And
how? What is that
it,
like?
and I've begun the research, and I have a friend, Irina Skoda, who was who worked for a world-renowned architecture firm in New York, who brought this to my attention
Uh-huh.
because I was doing some environmentally sustainable projects, and this may be another whole conversation that we need to have. But she taught me about the self-conscious of the architecture and how now they're getting more into what you were talking about, different composite materials,
Hmm.
a lot of the prefabrication. We last year, 2 years ago, we did a huge prefabricated hotel
Cool.
pods out of Poland. We did it in Brooklyn. My friend is now a prefab expert, building all over the country. So we are moving in that direction. That's something, I'd love to take my notes out on that one day, because that's
That would
really,
be pretty cool. We should
really
do
high
another
level
video
stuff.
about
Yeah,
that. That'd be
really, really.
neat.
Yeah, and it's a little esoteric, but it's where this whole thing's coming, and there's a lot of money getting thrown at the environmentally and self-conscious nature of things and sustainable housing and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. It's going to be
I mean,
big.
it would make it a lot easier, right? If we could create a house on a smaller plot of land or some type of multi unit living that was self sustained, that also limited the amount of waste, like trash waste or like whatever. I mean, but it would have to work on its own, right? Like it can't be something that like we as people like have to do, because we already know we're not going to do it. Like how many percentage of the population actually recycle and actually recycle materials that are recyclable? Like none, right? Not in
My wife,
US.
my wife,
Your wife. So
she
like
makes me save
one.
batteries. I'm like, come on now, give me a break.
Yeah, right. But like, I mean, and there's, different parts of the country are better than others, but like, whatever. It's an interesting thing. But the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, so actually, let me stop here for this thing is like, so what is a good like referral for you? Is it somebody that's looking to do some type of development project with you, or who are you? What's a good customer for you?
Yeah, my global real estate strategies for years was, a real estate advisory firm and a construction expert. So,
Hmm.
we would work for clients that were building big buildings and everything. But then, as I started to divert into, some of my own developments, I basically found myself just helping people move the ball forward, and
Hmm.
that, just from being, a life, I shouldn't say life coach, but I studied so much self-development that
Hmm.
most of the time people are in their own way. So when they come to me to do real estate, it's normally something on a personal level that gets them
Yeah.
in their way. So,
Well, you
as
can't
a,
separate work from personal. People that try, it's like you
yeah,
can't do it. Like who you are to it work is who you are at home.
yeah,
Like that's because it's you.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, so my consulting business, like you said, has a little bit of coaching, where you
Hmm.
kind of, like consulting, I always say I'm telling people what to do. Coaching, you're more or less asking them with the hope that they're going to discover it themselves. Because when you
Right.
discover it yourself, you don't forget it. Like I forgot all my calculus formulas from college because I didn't discover one of those babies.
Right,
They were forced
exactly.
upon me. But when I
Exactly.
lost, my first, $5,000 because I opened my mouth or something, I learned, you know what, you better like loose
Shut
lips
up.
and shit. Yeah, like
Right.
shut up, get less is better. But
Right.
so I try to help people discover so that they can, they can walk away and have something in hand. And my ideal client, I mean, of course, I like, people with a little bit of experience, but I've been known to work with people that have a lot of passion and really want and have the drive and are coachable.
Okay.
That when I have to tell them what to do, they don't get upset.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
That makes sense. So let's transition into the book because I think that's how we like I discovered you. So you have
yeah,
that book,
yeah,
Modern Wealth Building Formula.
yeah. There it
Cool.
is.
Nice.
I used to wear
What is
suits.
makes it modern?
I
What'd you
used to
say?
wear suits. I used to wear suits.
So did I. You need a new cover, a new
Yeah,
edition.
yeah, exactly.
So what makes it modern? Like what, because wealth building is, something that we like to talk about, and a lot of people build their wealth through real estate, right?
Yeah,
So tell us a little bit about your
yeah,
theories.
yeah. I mean, what I found that it's modern is that it applies to every business, even though I've directed it towards how to master real estate investing.
Mhm.
And I guess what's modern about it, and it's probably been around 100 years, but it's a modern way on how I learned how to buy real estate using other people's money and other people's experience.
Nice.
And I taught myself that, I guess I would say, from top down thinking. So in most courses or programs, you learn kind of going up and ascending upward. And my program allows you to descend upon the ascension path at the top and really understand the more, I guess you would say, slightly complicated aspect of real estate, which then allows you to do anything down the ascension path and capitalize on it at a whole new level. So because
Right.
I came into real estate from the top down and not like bird
The
dogging
bottom,
houses,
yeah.
I kind of never did a stick build until after I built, $1 billion worth of projects. And then I was kind of semi-retired playing golf, and then I developed a 50 home.
And that does make sense, because it's like a lot of us will start kind of like at the bottom, but the problem is, and this kind of links with what you were saying before, is like you get stuck in that process and it's hard to expand your mind to do something bigger, because it's not the same, right? I don't know what's different about it because I've never done a big project, but I I know that I've never done a big project, so I imagine that it is not the same, right? Like, or
Yeah.
else I would just do it.
Yeah. And a lot of times people like, how do you build a skyscraper? I'm like, one house at a time. You just stack houses,
Yeah.
but, and there's a lot of mindset to it, et cetera. But, the formula kind of makes it a little easier, that you don't, that you can get your arms around the 1,200-pound gorilla, because I really just break it down and create a system for you.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to read it. If people want to reach out to you or they want a copy of the book, what is the best way to get a hold of you or get their copy?
Yeah. kenvanloo.com/free book.
Easy,
And
easy.
yeah, pretty simple.
And then Ken is Ken, Van Liew, Valiew.
.com
Dot.
slash free book. And yeah, just would love, and easy to connect to with. If anybody wants a free strategy session, you could just go to kenvanloo.com, click on discover now. That gets, I'm easy to get in touch with. I'm just like you. I put my pants on one leg at a time, so I'm not like this big time guru. I'm in the trenches making it happen and just trying to pay it forward.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you being on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is cool.
Have a
Fight
good
Club.
one. Yeah, exactly.